The powerful teachings Jesus left us in the Sermon on the Mount. Have you ever thought about what life would be like if there was a manual to face daily challenges with wisdom and purpose? In a world where anxiety, worry, and uncertainties prevail, we often seek answers in the wrong places. But over 2,000 years ago, Jesus gave us the most revolutionary and transformative teaching in history, the Sermon on the Mount. This speech is not just a set of beautiful words, it's a call to live differently, in harmony with God and others. Many believe that following the principles of Jesus is difficult or even impossible. But what if I told you that these words can bring inner peace, clarity, and an eternal purpose to your life? The Sermon on the Mount not only teaches us how to deal with our weaknesses, but also challenges us to love radically, act with integrity, and seek true justice. Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? After all, who in their right mind would turn the other cheek or love their enemies? But it is in this paradox that the power to transform lives lies. Now, imagine what your life would be like if you started applying these teachings practically. How would your relationships change? How would your heart be renewed? In this video, we will explore each of these powerful lessons, discovering together how to live a meaningful life, guided by the wisdom of Christ. Get ready to dive into a journey of inspiration, reflection, and spiritual transformation. Shall we begin? The Beatitudes and a life with purpose. The Beatitudes are like a divine melody that resonates in the hearts of those seeking meaning in life. They are not just pretty words. They are a spiritual manual for a meaningful life. When Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven," Matthew 5:3, he showed us that true greatness lies in humility and dependence on God. Think about today's society. Everyone seeks to be self-sufficient. But how much peace do we find when we recognize that control is in God's hands? This humility opens the doors to profound biblical promises, such as the inner peace that only He can provide. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew 5:4 reminds us that even mourning has a greater purpose. How many times have you felt alone amidst pain? However, Christ's promise is clear. Those who trust in Him find comfort. An example of this can be seen in people who have faced significant losses and found relief in their prayers, a supernatural relief. It is this strength from God, like an invisible hug, that transforms tears into hope. On the path of faith, these experiences shape us for something eternal. Each beatitude carries an invitation to spiritual growth. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. In today's competitive world, meekness seems like a weakness, but Jesus teaches us the opposite. To be meek is to have strength under control, like someone who knows how to wait for the right time and trusts in God's plan. Imagine the impact of reacting with patience in the face of an offense. It's not easy, but it is liberating, because meekness is a key that unlocks spiritual and material blessings. Jesus also spoke about hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Matthew 5:6. This desire goes beyond a simple will. It's a deep search for divine truth. When we cry out for justice, whether in our lives or in the world around us, we connect directly to the heart of God. A practical way to live this out is to engage in acts of compassion, like helping the needy or defending the oppressed. Justice, in the Christian context, is a covenant between faith and action. The Beatitudes also point to virtues of character that often go unnoticed. For example, Jesus highlights the merciful, Matthew 5:7, and the pure in heart, Matthew 5:8. These virtues are more than external behaviors. They are reflections of an inner transformation. When we are merciful, we touch the heart of God, and when we seek purity, our eyes open to see Him in every detail of life. It's like a filter that allows us to see the world through the lens of divine grace. Living the Beatitudes is walking the path of faith towards an eternal purpose. They challenge us to look beyond immediate circumstances and trust in God's promises. After all, they are not just for this world, but for eternity. Every step taken in obedience to Christ's words brings us closer to the kingdom of heaven. But have you noticed that these words not only transform us, but also prepare us for something greater? And that's exactly what we'll talk about in the next step: humility and poverty of spirit. Humility and poverty of spirit. Being poor in spirit is one of the deepest lessons Jesus left us. He declared, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven," Matthew 5:3. But what does this really mean? It's not about material need, but about recognizing our total dependence on God. In a world that exalts self-sufficiency, admitting that we need something greater is a revolutionary act. Imagine what it would be like to set aside pride and open your heart to divine transformation. This attitude not only brings us closer to God, but sets us on a path of true peace and purpose. Humility is an invisible but powerful force that sustains us in the most difficult times. Think of life as a journey full of mountains and valleys. When we are in the valley, we often try to climb with our own strength. But Jesus teaches us that it is when we recognize our frailty that he acts with more power. David, for example, cries out in Psalms, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." Psalm 46:1. This is the essence of poverty of spirit, knowing that we are not alone and that God always walks beside us. This humility, however, is not passivity. It is an active choice to give God control, even when it seems difficult. It's like letting go of a rope we hold in fear of falling, but discovering that God had already prepared solid ground to support us. In practice, this might mean dedicating more time to prayer, seeking spiritual counsel, or even admitting our mistakes with courage. Small acts of humility have the power to transform not only our interior, but also our relationships. Being poor in spirit also protects us from falling into the trap of vanity. In a world that values titles, wealth, and recognition, Jesus challenges us to find value in what is eternal. When we stop worrying about what others think, we are freed from an unnecessary burden. A practical example is to practice gratitude daily. By thanking for the small blessings, we connect with divine grace and become more aware of God's provision in our lives. This dependence on God gives us a strength that the world cannot offer. Many believe that depending on someone is a sign of weakness, but in the kingdom of God, it is exactly the opposite. Paul wrote, "When I am weak, then I am strong." 2 Corinthians 12:10. This spiritual strength is the foundation to face anxieties, worries, and uncertainties, because we trust that God is in control of everything, even when we do not understand the plan. Poverty of spirit, far from being a burden, is a key to entering the kingdom of heaven. It's like a narrow door that only opens for those who leave pride outside. But what happens when the journey becomes difficult and the pain seems unbearable? That's when we learn to trust in the consolation promised by God, a theme we will explore in the next point: mourning and consolation. Mourning and consolation. Mourning is one of the deepest and most transformative experiences of human life. Jesus told us, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." Matthew 5:4. At first glance, it may seem contradictory. How can mourning be blessed? But here lies the mystery of the gospel. God transforms pain into an opportunity for healing. When we face mourning, whether due to the loss of a loved one or our own sins, we are invited to draw closer to Christ, who is the only one capable of offering us a peace that surpasses all understanding. Philippians 4:7. This promised consolation is not something distant, reserved only for the future. God acts in the present, like a father who wipes away his children's tears. When Jesus wept at Lazarus's tomb, John 11:35, he showed that he understands our pain. This divine empathy teaches us that mourning is a place of meeting with God. In moments of sadness, a powerful practice is sincere prayer, surrendering to God each tear. Many testify how this opens space for a supernatural peace that fills even the deepest voids. Mourning also sensitizes us to the pain of others. Those who experience God's consolation are called to be instruments of comfort. In 2 Corinthians 1:4, Paul reminds us that we are comforted to comfort. Think about how small gestures, like a hug, a word of encouragement, or even a silent prayer, can make a difference in someone's life who is suffering. When we become a channel of God's grace, we live Christianity in a practical and loving way. There is also mourning for the state of the world and the sin that separates us from God. When our hearts are moved by compassion and the search for justice, this brings us closer to Christ. Jesus wept for Jerusalem, lamenting the spiritual blindness of the people, Luke 19:41. In the same way, our laments can be a catalyst for transformative actions, such as intercessions or volunteer work in needy communities, reflecting God's light amidst darkness. It is important to remember that God's consolation does not depend on external circumstances. It is an inner consolation that renews our hope. Even amidst chaos, we can find peace by trusting in biblical promises. How many times have we looked back and realized how God was present, even in the darkest moments? He not only consoles us, but teaches us to see life with new eyes, preparing us for a future where every tear will be wiped away, Revelation 21:4. And it is in this process of mourning and consolation that we learn meekness. God's comfort gives us the strength to react with grace and patience in the face of adversities, leading us to the next point, meekness and the inheritance of the earth. Meekness and the inheritance of the earth. Meekness is a virtue that defies the expectations of the modern world. Jesus told us, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth," Matthew 5:5. But what does it mean to be meek? It is not weakness or passivity as many think, but rather a balanced and controlled strength. It's having your heart anchored in God, even when life's storms try to destabilize us. Imagine facing a conflict situation with calm and wisdom instead of reacting with anger. That is meekness, a serene firmness that reflects trust in the divine plan. In practice, meekness is expressed in the small choices of everyday life. Think of Jesus during his passion. He did not retaliate against the offenses, but remained steadfast in his mission. How often are we tempted to respond harshly when someone offends us? A practical example is, instead of reacting impulsively, taking a moment to pray or reflect. This attitude not only demonstrates self-control, but also creates space for God to act in our lives and relationships. Jesus' promise is clear: the meek will inherit the earth. This may seem paradoxical in a world where brute force and competition seem to govern, but this inheritance is not only material, it is spiritual. Those who choose meekness find inner peace and are aligned with the kingdom of God. A meek heart is like fertile soil where God's word can grow and bear fruit, and as a consequence, that heart becomes a source of blessings for others. Meekness is also a key to resolving conflicts and building bridges where there are walls. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus challenges us to offer the other cheek, Matthew 5:39, not as a sign of weakness, but as a demonstration of spiritual courage. Practicing meekness in a family discussion, for example, can disarm tension and pave the way for reconciliation. This virtue teaches us that it is not always necessary to win to be at peace, for the true victory is to remain faithful to Christ's teachings. Furthermore, being meek is trusting that God is in control. When we face situations that seem unjust or difficult, meekness reminds us not to take matters into our own hands, but to entrust everything to the Lord. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. Psalm 37:5. This surrender is not passivity, but an active act of faith that frees us from anxiety and fills us with hope. Meekness is the foundation for a harmonious life with God, others, and ourselves. But what fuels this inner strength? It is the burning desire to seek what is just and right, a hunger and thirst that leads us to the next topic: divine justice and its satisfaction. Hunger and thirst for justice. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Matthew 5:6. This phrase from Jesus is a call to an unceasing search for something greater than ourselves. Hunger and thirst are basic and urgent needs, and He uses these images to illustrate how much we should desire divine justice. But what kind of justice is this? It is not just the one that corrects social wrongs, but one that reflects God's character, integral, compassionate, and full of love. It is a call to align our lives with the values of the kingdom. Seeking this justice means not conforming to what is wrong around us or within us. Think of someone who, in the face of an injustice, chooses to act instead of remaining silent. It can be as simple as defending someone who is unjustly treated, or as grand as fighting for social changes. A biblical example is the prophet Amos, who cried out, "Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream." Amos 5:24. This hunger is a reflection of a heart aligned with God's will. However, this justice cannot be achieved without a deep connection with the Lord. It is not something we achieve by merit, but rather a fruit of divine grace. Jesus invites us to pray for the kingdom. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. When we cultivate this prayer in our hearts, we learn to seek justice not only for ourselves, but for others, promoting equity and love in all our actions. Having hunger and thirst for justice also means fighting against the structures of sin that permeate the world. This means, for example, not accepting corruption, inequality, or any practice that dishonors human dignity. A practical way to live this out is to get involved in community actions, support causes that promote social justice, or even stand against attitudes that harm the most vulnerable. These attitudes reflect the love of God in motion. The greatest gift for those who have this hunger is the promise of being satisfied. This satisfaction is not just future, but begins now, in communion with God. When we seek divine justice, we find inner peace and the certainty that we are on the right path. This satisfaction is something the world cannot offer, for it comes directly from Christ's presence in our lives. It is a reward that transforms the heart and mind, and this transformation prepares us to live mercifully. After all, those who seek justice also understand the importance of offering grace and compassion to others. It is mercy that balances divine justice, something we will explore in the next topic. Mercy and received. Mercy. Mercy is a word that carries the essence of God's heart. Jesus teaches us, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." Matthew 5:7. Being merciful goes beyond acts of kindness. It is an active choice to reflect divine grace even in difficult situations. Think of a situation where you had the opportunity to forgive someone, even when that person did not deserve it. It was hard, wasn't it? But this is precisely what God does with us daily, showing that mercy is not a sign of weakness, but of spiritual strength. Mercy also reveals itself in compassion for others. When Jesus healed the sick and fed the multitudes, He demonstrated that mercy is a practical and transformative action. A simple example to follow this path might be helping someone in difficulty, whether by listening patiently, donating resources, or even offering a sincere prayer. By acting with mercy, we allow God's love to tangibly and powerfully touch the lives around us. Receiving mercy from God is a privilege that shapes us to be more like Him. In Matthew 18:21-35, Jesus tells the parable of the unmerciful servant, who was forgiven a huge debt but had no compassion for another servant. This story challenges us to reflect: how can we ask for divine mercy without offering it to others? When we understand the depth of God's forgiveness in our lives, we are motivated to forgive genuinely, creating a cycle of grace. Mercy, however, requires sacrifice. Often it means letting go of pride, setting aside grievances, or choosing to love those who have hurt us. In Romans 12:20-21, Paul encourages us to overcome evil with good. Imagine the impact on a family relationship or in the workplace when you choose mercy instead of fueling conflicts. These small acts reflect the character of Christ and have the power to transform entire environments. Moreover, being merciful is also recognizing our humanity and that of others. We are all imperfect and need God's grace. When we accept this, we stop judging quickly and start reaching out. This attitude creates a deeper spiritual connection with God, for mercy is a bridge that links us to His heart. It is as if every act of mercy we offer is a direct reflection of what we receive from Him. And through this transformation, we are led to purity of heart. Mercy purifies us, for by practicing it, we align our thoughts and desires with the divine will. In the next point, we will explore what it means to have a pure heart and how it allows us to see God more clearly and intimately. Purity of heart and vision of God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Matthew 5:8. This promise from Jesus is as profound as it is challenging. But what does it mean to be pure in heart? It is to live with sincerity and integrity, without masks or ulterior motives. A pure heart is not one that never errs, but one that constantly seeks to align its thoughts, desires, and actions with God's will. Imagine how liberating it would be to live without duplicity, with a genuine faith that reflects divine light in everything we do. Purity of heart begins in the mind and thoughts. In Philippians 4:8, Paul instructs us, "Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, think about such things." This advice reminds us that holiness is cultivated by choosing what we allow into our hearts. Practically, this might mean carefully selecting what we read, watch, and listen to. The more we focus on what is pure, the easier it becomes to avoid distractions that pull us away from God. A pure heart also seeks to please God in its motivations. It is not enough to do good just to be recognized. True purity is acting with a purpose that honors Christ. Jesus criticized the Pharisees for their external practices of justice that masked hearts full of pride, Matthew 23:27. In contrast, He invites us to clean the inside first, allowing our actions to flow from an authentic relationship with God. In practice, this might mean a daily examination of conscience, asking God to reveal areas where we need to change. Having a pure heart does not exempt us from internal struggles, but strengthens us to overcome them. David, when crying out, "Create in me a pure heart, O God," Psalm 51:10, shows us that purity is a continuous process of surrender to divine grace. Prayer is a powerful tool for this. Reserve moments of the day to ask God to guard your thoughts and renew your spirit. These moments of intimacy create a space where God's presence can dwell. And the promise? To see God. This vision is not just a future hope in heaven, but an experience that begins here and now. When we live with purity of heart, our spiritual perception sharpens. We begin to see God in the little things, the kindness of a stranger, the comfort of a prayer, the beauty of creation. It's like swapping foggy lenses for crystal clear ones, allowing us to see the divine hand in every detail of life. This purity, in turn, empowers us to be peacemakers. A pure heart seeks peace, not just for itself, but also for the world around it. It's a natural transition to the next step, being peacemakers and being called children of God. Peacemakers and children of God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Matthew 5:9. This statement from Jesus is not just an invitation, but an identity for those who choose to promote peace. But what does it mean to be a peacemaker? It is not simply avoiding conflicts, but actively acting to reconcile, build bridges, and spread justice. A peacemaker is like someone who, in the midst of a storm, becomes a beacon, guiding others to calm and safety. Have you ever thought about the impact your words or actions can have in alleviating tensions or uniting people? Being a peacemaker requires courage, because it often means placing oneself in the middle of conflicts to seek solutions. A powerful example is that of Abraham, who in Genesis 13 chose to avoid a conflict with Lot, his nephew, by offering him the first choice of land. This attitude of renunciation and wisdom brought peace, reflecting God's character. Today, we can be peacemakers in our family, at work, or among friends by choosing kind words instead of accusations, or by seeking to mediate disputes with empathy. Peacemakers are reflections of God's heart, which desires the reconciliation of all creation with Himself. When we promote peace, we are imitating the work of Christ, who, in Ephesians 2:14, is called our peace. He broke down barriers between peoples and united us in one body. In the same way, when we seek to build bridges, we are participating in this divine mission. How about starting something simple, like forgiving a friend or creating a moment of reconciliation in your home? The peace that peacemakers promote is not superficial, but rooted in justice. Jesus does not call us to ignore evil, but to confront it with love and firmness. Being a peacemaker might mean working for changes in your community, raising your voice for the marginalized, or offering support to those in need. It is an act of faith that transforms environments and reflects the kingdom of God on earth. Think about the strength that arises when a group of people unites for the cause of peace. It's something that inspires and spreads. And what is the reward for peacemakers? To be called children of God. This filiation is not just a title, but a deep and transformative relationship. When we live as peacemakers, we are aligned with the character of the Father, who is the Prince of Peace. This intimate relationship gives us the strength necessary to continue promoting harmony, even in a chaotic world. The journey of a peacemaker, however, is not free from challenges. Many who seek peace face opposition and sometimes even persecution. It's in this context that it becomes necessary to remember that there are blessings reserved for those who suffer for the sake of justice, as we will see in the next point. Persecution for justice. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:10. These words from Jesus challenge us deeply. After all, who wants to be persecuted? However, Christ reminds us that following the path of justice, aligned with the values of the kingdom of God, often puts us in confrontation with the standards of the world. It is not easy, but there is a powerful promise for those who remain steadfast. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Have you ever wondered how much you are willing to sacrifice to live a just life? Persecution can arise in various forms, from social rejection to explicit opposition. Think of Daniel, who faced the lion's den because he refused to abandon his faith. Daniel 6. He chose to obey God, even when it put his life at risk. Today, although not all of us face such extreme dangers, many people suffer for defending Christian principles at work, school, or even within their families. But remember, every opposition faced for the sake of justice is seen and rewarded by God. Suffering for justice should not be seen as an unbearable burden, but as an opportunity to unite with Christ. In John 15:20, Jesus warns us, "If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also." This means that by facing persecution, we are walking the same path he trod. One way to endure these trials is to strengthen your faith through prayer, reading inspiring passages like Psalm 23, and fellowship with other Christians who share this journey. Being persecuted for justice also teaches us to depend on God. When we face opposition, we are forced to recognize that our strength comes from the Lord. This can be seen in the lives of the apostles who, despite imprisonment and threats, continued to preach boldly. Acts 4:29-31. In our reality, resisting discouragement means seeking spiritual support and keeping focus on the promise that God is in control, even in the most difficult situations. This persecution, paradoxically, is a source of spiritual growth. In James 1:2-3 we read, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Facing challenges shapes us and prepares us for something greater. Perhaps the persecution you face today is the path God is using to strengthen you and equip you for future purposes. And finally, persecution reminds us that we are salt and light in this world. Our resistance in the face of adversities is a powerful testimony of the faith we carry. In the next point, we will explore how Jesus calls us to live as salt of the earth and light of the world, positively influencing our communities and revealing Christ's character. Salt and light of the world, Jesus told us, "You are the salt of the earth, and you are the light of the world." Matthew 5:13-14. These powerful metaphors reveal the essential role that each Christian has in the world. Being salt means preserving and adding flavor, while being light implies illuminating and guiding. But how does this apply to our daily lives? Imagine the impact of small actions. A gesture of kindness, a word of encouragement, or the courage to stand up for what is right. These are the attitudes that make a difference and reflect Christ's character amidst darkness. Salt has a unique purpose. It transforms everything it touches. In the same way, Jesus calls us to influence the environment around us. This might mean being honest in a place where corruption prevails or offering hope to those who are lost. However, he also warns us, if the salt loses its flavor, it is no longer good for anything. Matthew 5:13. It is an invitation to authenticity and spiritual vigilance, reminding us not to conform to the world, but to remain steadfast in faith. As light of the world, we are called to reflect God's glory. A lamp is not lit to be hidden, but to illuminate everything around it. Matthew 5:15. Think about your life. Have you been a light to your family, friends, and community? Sometimes being light means just being present and listening with empathy. Other times it may mean sharing a message of hope based on the gospel, even when it requires courage. Being salt and light is not about perfection, but about availability. God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. An example is the life of Paul, who despite his past faults became a light to the Gentiles, tirelessly preaching the gospel. Similarly, you can impact lives by surrendering to God's plan, trusting that he acts through each small act of obedience. This call to be salt and light is also a reminder of our responsibility as Christians. The world needs the positive influence of those who carry Christ's message. When we live according to the values of the kingdom, we become agents of transformation. This can be seen in social projects, volunteering in needy communities, or simply being an example of integrity and love in everyday life. And this journey of impact is guided by a fundamental principle: fulfilling the law with a transformed heart. In the next point, we will explore how Jesus did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it, revealing the true purpose of spiritual obedience. Fulfillment of the law. Jesus declared, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." Matthew 5:17. With this, he made it clear that the law was not a burden to be abandoned, but a reflection of God's character. The difference is that he came to complete it, showing that it is not just about external actions, but about an inner transformation. Imagine a teacher who not only teaches the rules, but also shows how to live them fully and meaningfully. That is exactly what Jesus did. Fulfilling the law goes beyond literal obedience. It is aligning the heart with God's principles. Jesus showed this in his life. He healed on the Sabbath, not to disrespect the law, but to demonstrate the love it seeks to convey. Mark 3:1-6. Similarly, our actions should be guided by a deep understanding of the divine purpose. When we obey, it is not just to avoid consequences, but to reflect the holiness and grace of God in our lives. The transformation that Jesus proposes is radical. He calls us to love our neighbors as ourselves and even to love our enemies. Matthew 5:44. This love fulfills the entire law, as Paul explains in Romans 13:10. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. No. A practical example might be forgiving someone who has hurt us, not out of obligation, but because we understand that we were first forgiven by God. Jesus also confronted the hypocrisy of the Pharisees, who followed the law rigidly, but with hardened hearts. He warns us not to be like them, who perform good deeds just to be seen by others. Matthew 6:1. Fulfilling the law in Jesus' understanding is about sincerity and authenticity. Think about the difference between helping someone to show off and helping because you feel compassion. It is this motivation that Jesus seeks in us. Fulfilling the law with a transformed heart frees us from the burden of perfectionism. Instead of trying to earn God's favor with good deeds, we understand that we are already loved and accepted by Him. This truth motivates us to obey, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. An example is tithing. It should not be just a rule to follow, but an act of worship and acknowledgement that everything belongs to God. And it is when we live these principles sincerely that we are called to face our inner feelings, such as anger. Jesus teaches us that fulfilling the law begins in the heart, and that is what we will explore in the next point, the teaching on anger. The teaching on anger. Jesus said, "But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment." Matthew 5:22. Here, he takes us to a deeper understanding of the law, focusing not only on actions, but also on the emotions and intentions of the heart. Anger, when uncontrolled, becomes a bitter root that contaminates not only the offended, but also those who nurture it. Have you ever felt how anger consumes your peace? Jesus calls us to deal with it proactively, so that we are not prisoners of destructive feelings. Anger itself is not always sinful. Jesus himself was indignant in the face of injustice, John 2:15. However, he warns us about the danger of letting it grow unchecked. Anger that ferments can lead to hatred, resentment, and even violence. Think about how small conflicts can quickly escalate when unresolved. A practical example is arguing with a coworker. If pride prevents us from dialoguing, the problem worsens. Jesus teaches us to resolve conflicts quickly before anger takes over. Matthew 5:25. Reconciling with others is more than a choice. It is a command from Christ. He says that before we offer anything on the altar, we should seek peace with those we are in conflict with. Matthew 5:23-24. This means that our relationship with God is linked to our relationship with others. If we are at odds with someone, our worship becomes incomplete. A way to apply this is to take the first step, even if the other side is not willing. Forgiving and seeking reconciliation is liberating. Anger can also be a symptom of something deeper, such as insecurity, pride, or past grievances. That is why Jesus invites us to examine our hearts. David cried out, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts." Psalm 139-23. When we bring our emotional struggles to God in prayer, He helps us transform them into opportunities for spiritual growth. Moreover, dealing with anger is a way to preserve relationships and promote peace. Unresolved anger can destroy friendships, marriages, and even entire communities. As peacemakers, we are called to act with grace. This might mean responding with gentle words instead of harsh reactions. Proverbs 15:1. A small gesture of kindness has the power to dissipate great emotional storms. And as we learn to deal with anger, we become more aware of the areas of the heart that need purity and holiness. After all, sin begins in thoughts and desires, as we will see in the next point, the teaching on adultery in the heart. The teaching on adultery in the heart. Jesus said, "Anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Matthew 5:28. This teaching goes beyond external behavior, directing us to reflect on the desires and thoughts we cultivate. Christ shows us that sin does not begin with action, but with intention. It is a call to take care of the purity of our hearts and the holiness of our minds. Have you ever caught yourself nurturing thoughts that you know do not please God? The challenge here is to live a holiness that starts from within. Modern society constantly feeds temptations, whether through media, the internet, or relationships. To protect the heart, Jesus calls us to take radical measures. He said, "If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away." Matthew 5:29. Clearly, this is not literal, but it emphasizes the need to cut off at the root anything that distances us from God. A practical example is limiting time on social media or avoiding places and situations that feed impure desires. It is an active attitude of spiritual protection. Seeking purity of heart requires vigilance and constant prayer. In Philippians 4:8, Paul encourages us to think about what is pure, true, and praiseworthy. This practice helps us redirect our thoughts to what glorifies God. A practical tip is to replace harmful habits with edifying ones, such as spending more time reading the Bible or listening to uplifting music. These small adjustments create an atmosphere that protects the heart from the distractions of sin. But Jesus does not just teach us to avoid sin. He also calls us to embrace true love. Adultery in the heart is a deviation from God's original purpose for relationships, which is pure and sacrificial love. In the commandments, the call to fidelity in marriage is a reflection of God's covenant with His people. When we understand that we were created to reflect this love in our relationships, we gain a higher perspective on commitment and purity. The struggle for purity is not faced alone. The Holy Spirit gives us the strength to overcome temptations and guides us on the path of holiness. In 1 Corinthians 10:13, we are reminded that God is faithful and always provides a way out in the face of temptations. Therefore, when struggles arise, do not hesitate to seek help in prayer and the counsel of mature Christians. Faith communities can also be great allies in this process, and by living with integrity, not just in actions but also in intentions, we become people of our word. Honesty is a virtue that reflects inner transformation, something we will explore in the next point: oaths and the importance of speaking truthfully. Oaths and honesty. Jesus instructed us, simply let your yes be yes and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. Matthew 5:37. This powerful statement reminds us that truth should be the foundation of all communication. In Jesus' time, people often used oaths to validate their words, but He calls us to such deep integrity that our simple yes and no should be enough. Imagine a world where trust in a word was sufficient, without the need for complex contracts or extra guarantees. This is living with genuine honesty. Being a person of your word begins with small, daily actions. Fulfilling commitments even those that seem insignificant, reflects the character of Christ in us. For example, if we promise to call someone or attend a meeting, we should honor that promise. In Luke 16:10, Jesus teaches, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." This fidelity is not just an ethical issue, but a living testimony of the kingdom of God. Honesty also protects us from unnecessary complications. How many times has a lie or half-truth turned into a bigger problem? Jesus calls us to live so transparently that we do not need oaths to prove our sincerity. This means acknowledging mistakes when necessary and having the courage to ask for forgiveness. Honesty builds strong relationships and honors God, who calls us to be light in the world. Matthew 5:14. Being truthful also means avoiding exaggerations or manipulations. It's easy to fall into the temptation of embellishing stories to impress or omitting information to protect oneself. But as Christians, we are called to reflect God's character, who is faithful and just. In Proverbs 12:22 we read, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." This truth should guide not just our words but also our intentions. Honesty, however, requires discernment. There are times when the truth must be spoken with wisdom and love to build up rather than destroy. Paul teaches us to speak the truth in love, Ephesians 4:15. This means that even when honesty is difficult, it should be used to promote reconciliation and peace, not to hurt. Think of a friend who needs to hear a hard truth. How can you approach this in a loving and constructive way? And when our word is guided by truth, we reflect divine grace, even in the face of evil. Resisting evil is not in lies or manipulations, but in responses filled with grace and forgiveness, something we will explore in the next point: resisting evil with good. Apply each teaching practically. Start small. Forgive those who have hurt you. Speak truthfully. Seek to console someone in mourning or offer help to those in need. What's stopping you from living these truths today? It's time to step out of your comfort zone and experience the power of these words in your daily life. If these lessons have touched your heart, why not share them with others who also need hope and transformation? And remember, the journey with God is ongoing. Therefore, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that together we can explore these and other teachings of Christ more deeply. Your life can be a reflection of God's light and love. It all starts with a choice.